Drop the bass.
Darksiders 2. Again, we're not going to talk about Darksiders 2.
Oh, good.
So the thing with Darksiders 2 is, it's because that game was made by THQ, right?
Yeah.
Which is now defunct. But Darksiders 2, you can walk into a store and you can buy that game for probably $5 or $10.
Yeah.
You can walk in a GameStop, probably get it for like $12.99.
They're like, just take it.
Yeah.
Fun fact, Darksiders, the first one, was the first game I pre-ordered for PS3, and I returned it the same day.
Really?
Because it was shit.
Yeah. So the reason I bring it up is it's being released again for PlayStation and Xbox. I don't know. And it's just another HD remaster.
Okay, does HD remaster really qualify anymore? It was already quote in HD. It was the 720.
I don't mean to say HD remaster.
Is it-
It's
okay,
just
they're
a
calling it-
remastered
yeah, they're-
version
okay,
of the game.
Okay, never
Or
mind.
ported.
Yeah. So
Yeah, call it by its real thing, a fucking port.
Well, spiff it up a bit.
like Last of Us does run at 60 frames, but then you have the option to make it go at 30 frames. But the game does look better. But DMC's coming out. Saints Row 4 is coming out. Or Saints Row 4 already came out.
yeah, I already did.
And
That came with 2, though. So.
did it? Or Get Out of Hell
Didn't it come with Get Out of Hell and the one before,
and
right?
Saints Row 4.
Yeah.
Okay. Borderlands is coming out. So Tomb Raider wasn't even out for a year before it came out again. Last of Us wasn't out for a year before it came out again. So what do you guys think about all these HD remasters?
Honestly, I think for those specific titles, it was just those games were in development too long and they were too far gone to just wait to be in the next generation.
What do you mean?
Like Last of Us and stuff like that.
What about Last of Us? What do you mean?
That's what I'm saying. They were in development for too long, and by the time they were so far in development, they couldn't hold their horses and just start making them for the next generation to come out. And
Well,
they're
yeah,
like,
like Grand Theft Auto 5 was built for PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. But then the second that game came out, they started working on remastering it.
that's what I think that they did the same thing for The Last of Us. Like,
Well, I'm sure they did. They had
Yeah,
to.
that's what I'm saying though, is that I think it was more out of like,
But see, I don't think it was we missed our chance. I think it was like, let's make this like a great swan song for the PS3.
Yeah.
Especially for Last of Us. Like, it was like a good going out game.
Yeah.
And then like the PS4 was announced, and I think there's a lot of like remasters right now, because like 50% of PS4 owners didn't own a PS3.
Right.
So like, of course you're gonna want
Well,
to
and
port those games over.
Me too. When Last of Us came out, I borrowed my friend Joel's PS3 because I got on Facebook and I said, who's going to loan me their PS3 so I can play Last of Us? I'm like, come on, somebody's going to... And my friend Joel was like, yeah, I'm going to wherever. You can borrow my PS3. And I borrowed his PS3, played Last of Us, and then never got to play the Left Behind DLC, never got to go back through the game and whatever. And now I have it for the remastered version. Granted, I haven't played it, but it's there if I want it. My stance on the HD remakes is I actually don't mind it. It seems like most people don't mind it if it's the games they want. Like, it's like, oh, Saints Row 4 is coming out. That's bullshit. This is always how it starts. Saints Row 4 is coming out. That sucks. They should do whatever. And it's like, yeah you just want your game done.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're doing a lot of the games I want them to do. I actually want them to do Borderlands. Grand Theft Auto 5, awesome. Last of Us, when I do play it again, I do want to play it on my PS4. And there's a lot of games I don't want to go back and play on my PS3. If they don't release Uncharted 1, 2, and 3 on PS4, I will probably never play those games.
I think it's just following the trend of reboots.
You know, here's a game that just recently got re-released. Okay, Resident Evil came out on PlayStation. It was a good game.
Yes.
Then they remade it for GameCube.
Yep.
And it was $60. Awesome. But it just came out again on the PS4.
It did.
For $20. And I'm all like,
Yeah.
you know what? I've played Resident Evil. What about 2 and 3?
That's
I love
true.
3.
That's
Why
true.
not remake those ones?
I know. Well, because this was, in my opinion, the reason they're doing so many of these, like Alex said about the ports and stuff like that, is because Remake already looks good. When it came out for GameCube game, that game looked amazing.
Yeah.
All they had to do was make it widescreen and all that stuff, and maybe touched it up a little. I believe they did.
No, they completely revamped everything.
Oh, did they?
Better
Okay.
graphics and everything. It was a different game.
Right.
Voice
Wait.
act, real
Are we
voice
talking?
act.
Are we talking about? I'm not talking about PlayStation to GameCube. I'm talking about GameCube to PS4.
Oh, I don't know about that.
What's the difference between Remake on GameCube and Remake on PS4?
Nothing.
They made it widescreen and right, so it was easy to do. Resident Evil 2 and 3 do not hold up. Those games look like shit because they never got the remake treatment that Resident Evil 1 got.
Yeah.
And I think it's what Alex said. It's easier to just port over and not have to touch up because I mean those games do exist. Like Resident Evil 1, like if you had a PS3, you could play Resident Evil 2 and like Code Veronica's on PS3.
And then they're also doing like Revelations. The first one is getting, I believe, re-released.
Yeah.
Part 2 is going to be coming out, or it's either out or.
But it's like
soon.
then they have to release them as classics. Where Remake, they didn't have to release it as a classic. They cleaned it up a little bit. Boom, $20 game instead of paying
But see,
only
that's the same
$5.99.
Like how they cleaned up the HD remake of Final Fantasy X.
Yeah,
But like they're never gonna do 7. Like as much as people
No,
want it,
they did, but
As much as they
didn't,
want it,
like remaster it. They
like,
just re-released it.
to do 7, like they would have to make a whole
Yeah.
new game. Like there's
Well, 'cause-
nothing they can just like let's clean this up. Like,
yeah, no, they
they would
can't.
have to do all new assets
Because
and
10
just-
is an HD remaster.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't look like a PS4 game. Absolutely not. Final Fantasy 13 is only a PS3 game. That game looks way better than Final Fantasy 10 HD remaster. They changed a few things, but I know what you're saying. They can never release Final Fantasy 7 as it is and say, you know, here, pay me $60 for this. We like for Final Fantasy 10, they changed all the menus. The sphere grid looks different, all that stuff, and the game is remastered, but it just touch ups. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You can't touch up Final Fantasy 7.
Here-
That game is always going to be polygons and square hands. And
Here's a game that people asked to be remade for a long time, and they finally did it, and it actually backfired.
Which game?
Fable. Last year, they released an actual HD remaster with new graphics, and they finally added controller compatibility for the computer version and stuff, and it's not as good as the original. Like it doesn't play as well. It's more choppy, and the voices and stuff are just not good. And that's the thing is that like to make a game remaster it and stuff like that, it just takes more than just kind of giving it a facelift.
well, yeah, Persona 4 Golden for Vita is like an amazing game compared to the Persona 4 for PS2. Also, really great examples are Star Fox 64 on DS, Ocarina of Time, and now Majora's Mask. Ocarina of Time on DS is probably the best way to play that game. Like, I know there's purists out there that want that ugly-ass N64 controller in their hands and stuff like that, but it is better on DS in every way and worse in no ways. I'm sorry. Like, that is the way to play that game. So, let's just real quick go around the table, if we had one, and talk about a game you would want remade. So me, I'll start. I would love an N64 remake of Mario 64 done in HD quality, Mario Galaxy graphics.
I mean, that was actually a really fun game, and I'm not a Mario fan, but I remember playing that. And
Mario
actually,
64 that's an awesome
Yeah,
game.
I remember
I would
actually-
love to have that game remade, like good. Like for Wii U, not the DS port, and not just clean it up. Like I'm talking like what they did with Ocarina of Time, like and for DS and all or 3DS, like remake it from the ground up with HD visuals. I think that would be awesome. Larson,
I don't know. Fuck. Go to
Anthony.
Skip first.
I have 2.
Okay.
Ooh.
Conker's Bad Fur Day for
Yes.
Nintendo 64.
What
Yes!
with online multiplayer?
Yes, but
And the
the
opera.
original like multiplayer games, not just the war games. Oh my god,
Okay.
the Xbox one was. I mean, it was good, but
Oh yeah,
But the
I never
opera
played it.
stays.
Yeah.
The opera stays.
and then Actually, for PS3, I love this game, Valkyria Chronicles.
Yes!
I wish they would release 1, 2, and 3 as an HD collection.
As a remaster for PS4.
Yes.
Thank you, Anthony.
Yeah.
You actually reminded me of one that I haven't thought about such a long time, but you just reminded me. I have 2 as well now, thanks to him.
Go.
The first one, of course, is going to be because my favorite game, Prince of Persia, for the PS2.
I think you've
Oh,
talked
yeah.
about this before.
I mean,
yeah.
the game itself to me is a great game, but the graphics are like shit and it's buggy as all hell.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's a Ubisoft game. It's going to have those 2 problems. If they actually made that game really nice, hello?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
It's one monitor.
I would be so happy because that game is beautiful aesthetically, and it could be even more beautiful if they made it a lot more accurate to the culture. Because that culture is actually a lot more beautiful than they made it in the game.
So what's your second game?
Second game is actually a series called Growlancer. It's an RPG series that didn't really come to America. The second one came to America, and it was like the first real turn-based RPG that was actually kind of like a crossover between like a visual novel and an RPG that actually had real lasting.
What system is it for?
PS2.
Oh, okay.
It had real lasting effects between relationships between your characters and your main character.
I used to see that all the time in the used games and all that.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, no.
It was really good. it was really because it had 2 main protagonists that were best friends that were enemies.
Oh, I think you're thinking of Final Fantasy Tactics.
Well, Tactics was a great game too, but Growlancer was really good too.
What you got for
speaking
us,
of-
Larson?
Yeah, I probably would want Final Fantasy Tactics on the
What?
PS4.
That's your game?
That-
What? That's
Like
your
if
game?
I mean,
That-
like if you could pick one game,
Yeah,
that's
I put
it.
a lot
Tactics?
of hours into that game on my
Really?
PS1
Yeah, we did.
and on the PSP. Like I,
I
played it
heard
twice.
Tactics Ogre was way better for PSP.
I don't
You
know, I never
prefer
played it.
the original Tactics?
I played War of the Lions, and I put over at least 200 hours into it, just because
Yeah,
I'm
the
a
other-
completionist.
The other one
Yes,
would
you
be 3 games, like in a bundle, because it's
Yeah.
a series. The Onimushu games
Yes!
for the PS2.
Oh, dude! Oh my god!
Those games are awesome.
I wish the first one was on Steam. They have like the second and the third one on Steam, but they don't have the first one.
On the third one with the French actor.
Yeah,
like, I don't know.
But that one's still good. But it's too
He was
it's
in
too
Godzilla.
expensive though. It's like $30 for it.
Those games were awesome hack and slash
Okay,
games.
Steam. If you ever hear this, give me Onimusha 3
Steam is a person
for
now.
$10 or $15 even, and I'll buy it. Not $30.
Yeah.